to your questions. We have heard very important discussions by the panelists. We have heard about importance of life cycle costing, as well as life cycle cost analysis and life cycle analysis, as well as life cycle cost analysis. We have heard about choice of materials, particularly between two important choice between asphalt and concrete. We have heard about challenges of investment with limited constrained resources. We have also heard about, lastly, the challenges between public versus private financing and the partnerships. So the floor is open for you to ask questions to our panelists. Anybody? Yes. Could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is... Hello, good morning. My name is Rafael Jimenez. I am a pavement engineer for Cemex. And in the course of my job, I have often reviewed design plans and engineering plans for both asphalt pavements, concrete pavements, other pavements, etc. I've noticed in that review that while the entire plan and profile sheets may be very extensive, the actual detail sheets and section design sheets are a small fraction of the overall project plan sheets. I've also reviewed various pavement type selection reports, and the smallest report that I've reviewed has been about 20 pages, where many of them have been in fact over 60 and even 100 pages long. So my question is this: what are the obstacles to deferring the PTS until after a project has been bid? In other words, proceeding with dual designs from the beginning, getting competitive market data during the bid process, and then again deferring the PTS until after actual prices have come in and bids have come in, and then having more data to make a better evaluation. Does that question make sense?
Sort of.
Sort of.
You hear me okay?
Yeah.
I think what you're, in a way, describing is alternate design, alternate bid, with a little bit of a twist. That's one thing that, you know, none of us talked about, but it's something that a number of states are doing. I think the correction to your question that I would put to you is that in the pavement type selection, you need to make sure the designs are complete. In other words, if you're comparing an asphalt section to a concrete section and you're going to go alternate design, alternate bid, the designs you need to be comparing a static. Otherwise, contractors would have a problem with that, departments would have a problem with that. In alternate design, alternate bid, I think a lot of people look at that as the silver bullet to try to get the fair, quote unquote, two-pavement system. And a fair and accurate two-pavement competitive system is imperative to get a better return on your investment. The problems that I've seen in different states, and particularly in Florida, is to get to that platform of what people will agree is equivalent designs. Is this design for asphalt really equivalent to this design for concrete? Beyond that, you've got you know, adjustment factors, because asphalt has a higher cost downstream for rehabilitation, and concrete has a higher cost for initial construction. You have to go into the black box and make sure that you've got all those things kind of understood and agreed to. There's a lot of moving parts there. Beyond that, I think alternate design, alternate bid is a workable solution. It certainly induces competitiveness into the bids that the department receives. What we see sometimes, quite frankly, and I saw it in other states when I worked in other states, is that on the asphalt side, because asphalt plants are often can be somewhat monopolistic, particularly in rural areas. One company has the local plant for many, many miles. There's a lot of involved in environmental permitting that establishes that. Without a two-pavement system, or in this case, a concrete alternate, then we see extremely, sometimes, high unit prices bid for asphalt when there's a monopolistic situation, and an alternate design, alternate bid will alleviate that. But it's not clean as a whistle. You still have a lot of things that have to be agreed to get to that. Does that kind of answer that?
Does anyone else also have an opinion on that?
Yes, I think Jim is.
Yeah, I'd like to weigh in there. Couple issues. You know, it's good to think about what you'd like to change, but it's also good to think about what's working. And if you think about what's working in Florida, which gives us basically #1 pavements in the United States, go out and drive. Okay, I'm not going to debate the asphalt versus concrete issue. Okay, we've tried it. We've tried alternate design build at the request of the other industry. And 3 out of the 4 projects the industry didn't even bid the alternate design build, okay, when it came down to the bidding table. The 4th project, which would force the contractors to submit bids for both products, went asphalt, okay. The life cycle costs that we've seen, the analysis, that I've read the reports too, is there is a substantial difference in the life cycle cost difference between the 2 pavements. I believe the department is making a very economic decision based on what they're seeing. Enough said.
I think maybe if I can just, I think maybe your initial question was about, are there any barriers to doing this sort of two design thing? And I think the barrier that I hear from other DOTs is just you have to make the investment to design both pavements. And as we heard, sort of what's functionally equivalent. And so, there are many barriers, but I think that's one of them. But I think that you have to see it as basically this is an investment to try and get something that you think overall will have a better product and a lower life cycle cost. But it does require some type of investment on the part of the DOT in order to do it, and that's an argument that has to be made. I mean, at least the studies that I've seen on states that have implemented ADAB, and maybe it's not like that everywhere, there have been cost savings on both types of alternatives. And so I think there is definitely an economic argument to be made as to why you should invest the time to really do multiple designs. But it does require some sort of risk on the part of the DOT to take that on. So.
Can I follow up again with that point? You kind of answered that, Jeremy's point, that what you see is the typical section plan sheets are very limited versus showing the right-of-way and the overall design of the project. For that reason, the cost in designing the pavement section, I really think, is a minimal increase in design costs for owners. That design cost can be recouped very easily in increased competition on bid day and better prices induced by that. So in designing an alternate section, and I agree with Jim. I think in Florida, the alternate design, alternate bid, and this goes back to my point about equivalent designs. In Florida, concrete's going to have a really tough time getting there. The asphalt thicknesses in Florida are, on average, almost half what you see in a lot of other states. I think to stay in the Southeast, if you just go to North Carolina, where there are 2 currently advertised very large design build projects. These are design built that are alternate design, alternate bid, and they are giving the contractors an asphalt design and a concrete design to bid either one. And I've talked to contractors who've recently been awarded design build jobs in North Carolina that are bid under this delivery method, And I've talked recently to contractors that are looking at 2 upcoming. And the difference in cost is very, very minimal. And there have been jobs that have gone asphalt, and there have been jobs that have gone concrete. But this goes back to quite frankly, the designs are much more equivalent. The asphalt, meaning, quite honestly, is quite a bit thicker in a different base section than what we see in Florida. So Florida is probably not the best case to look at that process. But in other states, you know, I bid a job in West Virginia about 2 years ago where I think the concrete was 11 inches thick and the asphalt was 13 inches thick. Now, that's the only place I've ever seen that. But that's kind of at the root of, you know, what you have to look at, is that equivalent design thing. And if the Florida DOT is comfortable with the thicknesses of asphalt that they use, that's what they're comfortable with. And it's going to be very tough for concrete to compete at that comparison.
Franz, you want to ask a question?
I just want to follow up on, to ask Gus about this here. If the question is really what is the equivalent design in order to move forward with alternative bid options, what is the current practice of Florida DOT of design? I mean, is it on specs or are you already performance design, MEPDG, which can ensure you on a very objective level the equivalent design, at least from a performance perspective?
Well, you know, yeah, I'm not a designer, okay?
Can you summarize that? I don't think everybody heard this question.
That basically, if I understood the question correctly, and, you know, maybe we can put the microphone so you can repeat it, so I don't misphrase it.